Jim, you are now live on YouTube and it's being broadcast.
Ready to go? Are we still waiting for you to get Stan, or are we all set?
Well, I'm going to try to get Stan. I don't know. I got to find out if Stan has a microphone and I'm sure he has a microphone and a camera.
Probably on his end. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and open it up. This is the Town of West Warwick Arctic Village Redevelopment Agency. Meeting is Monday, August 24th, 2020 at 4:06 p.m. And at this time, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Boyer?
Here.
Mr. Lancelota?
Here.
Mr. Marsh?
Here.
Mr. Patnode?
Here.
And we know Mr. Tabak is here. I don't know if he can respond or not. Stan, you can send me an email if you can hear me. Regardless, we have a quorum. We have at least 4. I just received an email from Mr. Tabak. He's present. So all are present and accounted for, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item number 1 for action tonight is.
Hi, I'm calling for Stan Tabak. He knows I'm calling, so sorry about that, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No problem. All right. So first item up for review tonight is review and approval of the October 22nd, 2018 meeting minutes. Has anybody reviewed them? Can I get a motion? Any comments?
Move approval. This is Mr. Patnode.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Patnode. Anybody else?
Second. Mr. Lancelota.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Boyer, aye.
Motion-
Mark, will you be running the votes by roll call or just,
Yes, I will. We will do a roll call vote, except for the minutes doesn't need a roll call, Bill.
okay.
All right.
So Jim, if you could ask if there's any opposed.
Anybody, any opposed? That
Roll
would
call
be. Are we all set?
All set. Jim.
Okay. All right. So item number 2 tonight is 37 Washington Street, assesses plat 6, lot 426. And that would be Washington Capital Investments. They are requesting for approval for 5 residential units at 37 Washington Street. And also for a purchase of a parcel of land. So could anybody who's with them, representatives, announce who you are, I guess it would be, and we could, I guess, present your.
Yes, my name's William D'Amico. I am the owner. Trying to put this project together for my partner and myself. Yes, we are going to be trying to build 5 condo units inside the building. We already own the lower, we own the whole building. The lowest section of the building we're using right now for rentals to the doctors. They've been there for quite a while. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. And we're looking for the board's approval to build the residential units, 5 of them. And also the land to the right side of it, as you're facing the building from the street, the possible land to the right, we're trying to purchase from the town of West Warwick. And that's why we're here tonight, to see if you guys can help us move forward with that.
So at this point, has everybody reviewed I've got the package of plans, and you also submitted an appraisal. I see kind of a brief overview of what you want to do. Mark, is there anything you want to add to this that we need to know? Has everybody reviewed the packages?
So Mr. D'Amico had met with the town on several occasions on this project to talk about the lot adjacent to it, parking, his future plans for the property should this project come to fruition and do well. But in any event, I believe Mr. D'Amico and his partners purchased the building about a year ago, and they've retained the tenants in the front of the building, which I believe are a couple of doctors' offices, and they are intended to continue that medical office use in the front of the building. They determined that the back of the building was underutilized, actually not being used at all. So they submitted to us a package, which I think everyone has received, proposing 5 residential condominium units to the rear of the building. I think Mr. D'Amico can probably expand on this, but I believe that his intent to buy the lot adjacent to the building is to provide parking specific to the residential condo units so that they meet or exceed the parking requirements for the residential portion of the development. We have discussed several times values of the property, and Mr. D'Amico has provided an appraisal that he's given to the agency, but will be forwarding to the town council. He is aware that the town council is required to approve any sale of town property. So this is kind of the first step to the next step for this project, and that he's looking for 2 things this evening, I believe. A recommendation to the town council as to whether the agency believes the lot should be considered for sale as part of this project to supplement the project's parking. The value of the lot will be determined by the town council and not this agency. This agency is not charged with that responsibility. I think the second portion of the approval is whether the agency is in favor of establishing the 5 residential condo units in the back portion of the building. I think that there are some materials. Mr. D'Amico, are you able to share your materials with the agency? I know that there was some issue with that.
Yeah, there was, we did supply copies of all the plans and everything to the board, but as far as showing you what we have here, other than holding it up to the computer on the screen on the computer, I have no access to doing that.
Mark, this is Jasmine, by the way. I had arranged with Eileen, and I sent them to John Botello and Joe Howell. And I was under the impression that they were going to be able to share their screen and put any letters or plans.
Well, let's check with John. John, are you there?
I do have them. I didn't know when you needed them. I do have them on my computer. If you
Okay.
need me to broadcast them, what would you like first? I have 3 different ones. I have 11 by 17 plans. I have a condominium project proposal, and I have the recommendation memo. Whatever one you want first.
I think the site, do you have a site concept plans, John?
These are labeled. The PDFs that I received was 11 by 17 plans. Let me see.
Okay, the
Yeah,
11
those
by
are the
7.
plans.
I think the
Okay.
11 by 17s are what they would like to share with us.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to share them right now.
Okay, great.
Do you see them?
Yes.
That's
There we-
that's what I have received. That's what I have.
Okay,
if you
so,
wanna- do you want me to go through, Mark, each individual
Yeah.
page, go through one page?
that'd be great. That'd be
Okay,
great.
this is just a rendering of the building and what we expect it to look like. If you notice to the right of the building in the upper picture, there's parking on the right-hand side. Right now, that's a vacant lot. It's just good. It's just right now a grass area. It's owned by the city, and we're interested in purchasing that land so we can put 10 parking spots on that side. We did have that land appraised by an independent appraiser, and they came up with a value. Their value was based upon a buildable lot. What we're going to do is we're not going to be building on that lot. It's kind of narrow to build anyway. We're just going to use it for parking if we're granted that right. That's the first page. And then the lower picture just shows a rendering of the side of the building.
That's the side that includes the lot that you're intending to purchase with a small corner of the parking area, right?
Correct. You're looking at it from that lot, like as if you were
Yeah.
standing in that lot that we wish to purchase and looking at the side of the building. Correct.
I just wanted the agency to understand the perspective there. Thanks, Bill.
And if they want to go to the next page, we'll see what we got on the next page.
There you go.
All right. So this is the same thing. It's all renderings. It's just showing the building from all 4 sides, from the front, left side, the right side.
Bill,
Actually,
question for you?
yes.
So on those renderings, I believe there's some damage to that Newberry sign out front. Maybe some letters are missing or something like that. But by the appearance of what you're showing us here, it looks like you're gonna go through the whole facade of the building, clean it up and bring it back to its more or less original form. Is that correct?
Correct. What we're gonna do with the front of the building to keep it up with the historical value of it, we're gonna try to keep the red tile. We're gonna try to keep the front of the building looking identical to what it does now, but we will be renovating it so it looks it's in better condition, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
If we can go to the next page. This is another shot showing the parking area and how we're going to utilize the space. You'll see at the bottom of the parking area, there's a private gangway, which is almost like just a simple easement. It's been there for years and it goes out to a different road. So we're going to be using that for access in and out. So you'll have access from Washington Street in, and then you'll exit through the private gangway. We need 10 spots. We only get 9 here to meet the requirements of the city. But we put an extra spot in the back, which is on our property right now, our existing property. And it's, you can see the car, the picture of the car behind the building. That's the 10th spot. And the outlined in blue is the existing footprint of the building that we own now at this point. Next page, please. Unless anybody have any questions on that one? Any questions?
Yeah, this is Bill Patnode. Who owns lot 398? And that's just grass?
Yes, right now if you're talking about lot 425 with 398. Okay, I'm sorry. There it is. 398 is owned by another individual. It's not, there's a small building as you see to the right of it where it says view. That's I think it's a shoe cobbler that owns that building right there now.
All right.
So was the existing, we are showing that 10th parking spot, do you own that? You own
I
that?
do. I own that land. That's part of the land that comes with lot 426.
Okay. All right.
Next page, please. Further on through the plans, we'll have a larger view of each floor, but these are the floor plans for the particular building. If you notice on the bottom left, it says proposed second floor level. That's going to be a 3-bedroom unit. It's the only 3-bedroom in the project. The reason why it's smaller than the other 2 is because part of that's being used by the doctor's offices on the first floor for head space. They just have high ceilings in that area. So the second floor will be a 1 3-bedroom unit. Going to the 3rd floor, which is directly above that, there'll be 2 separate units divided down the middle. Both will meet all the egresses and fire and sprinklers and everything that we need to have over there to build these properly to today's current code. They're going to be they're both 2-bedroom units on this 3rd floor, and the 4th floor is identical. It's very, very similar anyway. It's 2 separate units, 2 bedrooms per unit. Any questions on this page?
I'm good.
Let's go to the next page, please. Thank you. This is a site plan that we had drawn up, and it's showing all the abutting properties. The one that has the hash marks going through it, you'll see it says Washington Capitol, and it shows the square footage of the lot. And behind that, you'll see that little parking area that we have. To the right of that is I don't know, can you guys see the mouse that I'm moving right now, or?
Mhm.
No, probably not, right? You cannot see that?
Oh, good.
All right, I'll just talk more than point. To the right of the property is just the land that we're interested in purchasing, and it just shows the neighboring abutting properties. It's a plot plan for that particular area. If there's no questions, we'll go to the next page.
Go ahead.
Can we go to the next page, please?
Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Take your time.
I think John's. There you go. Perfect.
This is really probably irrelevant to our conversation today anyway. It's just general notes for the plans. I think we can skip this page, go to the next page, please. Same here, just construction notes and details. This right here is just showing the existing conditions, the existing first floor plan, which is existing, so it's kind of irrelevant to what we're going to be doing if we get the approval to put the condos in. So let's go to the next page also. And this is just these are the same as what we were looking at before. It's a little larger version. It's kind of repetitive. We already went through it, but it's just showing the second floor level and the 3 bedrooms that are in this particular level. There's means of egress for both front and back of the building, or left and right of the building, actually. So it's pretty basic plan that we're going to be, trying to construct in this area. Go to the next page. And that's going to be the same thing. Now we're just looking at a duplicate of the page prior, just a little bit larger. It's showing the 3rd floor elevation, with the 2 means of egress and 2 2-bedroom units. Similar to the other one. So let's go to the next page, and that's going to probably just show the same thing. Yep, and there we go, and we're talking the 4th level now. So now we're looking at some elevations of the east side of the building. This is looking at the building, not from the area where we're going to be purchasing the land, hopefully to put the parking in, but from the other side. And it shows a new entrance to the side of the building with a overhang. So if people come in and out of the building, they're protected from the weather. The existing ramp that you see on the right of that is an existing ramp for the doctor's offices. That's all existing. We do show adding lighting. You'll see if we're going to call the building the Newberry Place. We're trying to keep that name. So it's going to be the Newberry Place condominiums. This does show also some lighting that we plan on putting in. It's basically a rendering of the existing conditions and what we're adding to it. And above that, we're looking at it from the front. You'll see that there's going to be windows added up front at the top of the building. Those windows that you're looking at aren't the actual, that's set back. That's the back part of the building. For instance, if you look at I'm sure everybody knows this, but I'm trying to explain. If you're looking at it from the lower picture, the first floor is one level, then it jumps up. So when you see those windows, that's in the upper level of the back building. That's the windows that you're looking at that are going to be added in. So if there's any questions on that, if not, we'll move to the next page. As far as the front of the building, we're really not changing much either. We're just going to leave the building basically the way it is and just, replace any broken tiles and maybe stucco the upper section that's damaged now and just clean it up, make it look like a new building. That's our intent anyway. Now we're looking at the opposite side, that if you were standing in that parking area that we initially were talking about, you're looking at that side of the building. It shows the lightings, it shows the windows that are going to be going in on the right-hand side, and it also shows an overhang over the entry. So you'll have covering from the rain when you go in. The shape of the building, everything stays the same. The only thing you're going to notice different on this would be the windows and the overhang that we're going to build. This is, that's the top picture. The one below is the back of the building. Same there, we're not really changing anything on the building other than the windows. And I guess looking at the back elevation, you'll see the overhang on the right side for the stairs and on the left side for the stairs. Both entries will have that overhang. That will be added on. Other than that, the building's going to stay brick. The windows will I'll submit prior to buying any windows. I'll submit the windows for everyone's review so they can get an idea. I was thinking about going with like a black window, a black frame. I thought that looks good with the brick. I've seen it in a few other properties, but I'll also do some colored renderings further in this project if it's something that we're allowed to do. Any questions on this page? If not, we'll go to the next, please. Okay, this is just a split cross section. Doesn't tell us a lot. It's basically the building inspector is going to want to see the stairs and the head clearances, and this is more for the building department. It really doesn't show us too much about the aesthetics of the building or what it's going to look like on the outside. So if there's no questions on this, we can go to the next page. Again, this is structural details, which has very little to do with what we're talking about today. So let's skip this one and go to the next page. Again, next page, please. These are just door schedules and the type of doors we're using on the inside. So let's skip this and go to the next. Again, this is talking about the structural beams, the existing steel beams that are in the building. Kind of irrelevant to today's conversation, so we can move forward on that. Okay, so this, I guess, we're looking at the parking again. Well, the building with the parking on the right side of it, that lot on the side. So this is kind of repetitious to what we looked at already. We can skip this page unless anybody has questions on it. We'll go to the next. This also, I'm sorry, while we're on this page, just saw something else over here. I was looking at something else. This is a engineering drawing that we had done by Milestone Engineering. We hired Milestone to come in because we were required to have some flow ratio rates on the sewer system. And they suggested we added a manhole, which will be on our property in the back of the building. This is work that has to be completed to properly supply drainage for the building once we put the condo units in. So this is a subcontractor of ours that we hired to do a drawing for today's meeting in case there was any questions on sewer usage or any of those questions. But if not, we'll go to the next page. I think that should be just about the end of it.
That is the last page.
That is the last page.
Yep.
So the plans right now are 99% complete. They're not put together in a format that we would be able to submit them to the building inspector. We have a little bit more work to do before we get there. So I guess the objective I have is to hopefully get granted approval from the committee to move forward on this. And if it's a project that it seems like it's going to fit the neighborhood and the area, and we get positive feedback on it, we would bring the plans to another level that we could submit the plans to the building department and the fire department for their approval. We did do a walkthrough with the fire department and a couple employees of the fire department about maybe 7-8 months ago, just to get their opinion on it. And they felt strongly about having sprinklers in the system, sprinklers in the building. So we designed plans for sprinklers also, but that's something that would be dealt with directly with the fire department when time comes and we're trying to get issued permits to move forward with the building. So in general, that's the complete drawings of the building. That's what we would like to do there. I didn't want to, I put a lot of thought into it. Jasmine and I put a lot of thought into it on not making these like micro units and trying to squeeze a lot of people in these buildings. A lot of the developers now are doing what they call micro units, and they're putting like little shotgun, like they were trying to fit 10 units in a building that we're putting 5 into and have 1 bedrooms and studio apartments. But we're trying to do it more of a way to fit the neighborhood and the other buildings around it. So we did, you know, like I said, a 3-bedroom, the rest are all 2-bedroom units. We thought that would fit the neighborhood better. And if there was any comments on that, I would love to hear it.
I have one question just out of curiosity. Why was the first floor ceiling height the driving factor for a 3-bedroom?
Well, it wasn't the ceiling height. If you look at if we can go back to let's see what page it was.
Page 84.00, maybe?
Yeah, if you go back to that page, AP1,
You need me to broadcast it again?
if you could, if it's not a big deal to do that, then yes, if not, I could try to explain it. Right there, okay. If you're looking at the square footage of the proposed second floor level, the reason why we can't build further is because
Oh, I see, your area is small. I got it.
the area is smaller because the floor has been removed for the space on the existing
other
first
area.
floor for the
Okay.
doctor's offices.
Answer my
So
question.
it's half the size or a little bit more
I
than
thought you
half
said
the size.
originally it was because of the ceiling height in a certain area, but, then I saw the section, it was lower, but I see what you're saying. They
Yeah,
have
that's why
equipment or
we're
something.
limited to
Okay,
the square footage of that floor.
I'm good. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, this is Bill Patnode. First, 2 questions. One, for Mark procedurally. So we're voting for sort of a conceptual approval, and then will this be coming back to us for final design?
No, Bill, we're gonna do, the first one is gonna be whether we recommend to the council for approval of the land. Then we're gonna do the project itself. And that'll all be done tonight, hopefully.
And that'll be it.
Yeah, so Bill, Mr. D'Amico just presented something with regard to the windows that he'd be willing to come back for that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah, so the intention tonight was to approve it. So I've got, a recommendation showing that we can add, I would add to that at the appropriate time stipulation that they come back to the agency with the window proposal for approval.
Yeah, and I guess just a couple of other things. I was really happy to see the improvements on the frontage. I mean, that's so iconic to Arctic. But then just a quick question. I noticed on the design, you're going to maintain that font structure, Mr. D'Amico, in terms of the new signage, Newberry Place, which I really like, by the way. So have similar font style as on the front facade.
Yes, we would. We would keep the same similar font style to match the existing that's there now. And we're going to try to carry that over to the other side where we have the name of the condo association that we're going to mount on the side of the left side of the building. It'll all match the front.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Question from Stan Tabak. He wants to know how much do you think you'd be marketing those units for?
We're thinking somewhere around $150,000 to $175,000 per unit.
Okay.
And there's no snack bar?
There's no snack bar.
Okay.
It's funny because I get a lot of people who come to that building while we're in there, and they said they remember walking down the stairs into the department store, and they used to have the soda fountains down there, and so many people said that to me. I guess it's a little before my time because I don't remember that, but.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Boyer,
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
I've got a couple of questions, and number one, I realize that the parking area, the proposed parking area, is a must. If you do not obtain that parking area, where does the project stand if you don't?
If we do not, if we cannot purchase that land, we may have to relook at the whole project to see if it's going to be feasible to do that type of a condo complex in that area. The parking's kind of crucial to this whole ordeal. So to answer your question, we would have to rethink everything as far as putting condos up there if that was the case and we didn't have the parking.
All right, now maybe Mark Carullo can answer this. What's the time period, Mark, for going through the process for the town to sell a piece of property?
Bob, I really don't know the answer to that. That's we've been going forth with the town council. There are a couple of examples of the town council selling property, and one was One example was an ordinance passed by the council, which took basically a couple of passages before the council, and the other was a referendum. So there's really no guidance provided in the town's code of ordinances. So we're looking at past practices, and we're waiting for the town solicitor to make a determination as to the proper process.
Okay, the other question I have is on the windows. On the Royal Mill, we had 3 samples of windows because we didn't want to lose the character of the mill. I think the windows are going to be important on this building, so it doesn't look like a factory. Solid panes definitely shouldn't go, but the multiple panes I think would make it look a little more homey in the rear. Another thing about the building. Naturally, this commission here, we can only suggest. We have no powers whatsoever. But I would certainly put a motion to request the town council to seriously consider selling that lot in order for this project to move ahead. I don't believe it would move ahead if you didn't get the parking, because Arctic has a parking problem as it stands. The other thing I would say is that it would be mandatory that the fascia, the red fascia on the building, be repaired before a CO can be obtained. It's been sitting there quite a while looking ugly, and I think those panels, you could procure them from some manufacturer. It's a gorgeous looking building in the front, and we don't want to lose that fact. But I don't know if the size of the units, I think, is terrific, and you're right. Everyone's looking to squeeze more people into spaces. I think I wholeheartedly support this project, and when the time comes, I would go with the motion of moving to the town hall and accepting the plans. However, I think this board should look and see what the final results are going to be for the windows and for the outside of the building. Thank you.
Yes, and I agree with you. In fact, if there's a way, and I will figure out the best way to do it, is once I get some final choices of windows, I would love to get them, if there's a way of emailing them to the board so they can look at them and they can approve which ones they want. Because I'm sure that we're both looking for the same thing. I want something that's not going to look like just a plain piece of glass. That's why I thought with the black frames, instead of just going white traditional replacement vinyl window look, I wanted to go with more of like the historical look, like a black window with like maybe the upper level with six lights and the bottom with one light, or just something to give it more of a residential look than a commercial mill house building.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah, so I will definitely get the, once I have the specs on the actual windows, I'll have 2 or 3, and I'll even leave it up to the board to pick the one that they like the best, and I'll go with that window.
Good. All right. That's a good, yeah. For instance, the Harris Mill and those new mills, they're all putting those black windows in, I think.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, if you take a ride by what they're doing in Apponaug, also with the mill there, you can see similar windows too. They look really good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll go check them out. Yep.
Stan just emailed that he agrees with what Bob just stated.
Yep.
Perfect.
I want that noted for the record.
Okay. All right. All right. Is any other questions from our board members? Are we, Mr. Lancelota? Anything? Take that as a no. Okay. Stan, Mark, it's been a while. Do we do comments now or should I request the motion right now then? On the
I would
public, right?
any public participation at this point.
All right, so John Botello, do we have anybody that would like to send a question in from the public?
Nobody's raised their hands. I have 4 people in attendance right now, but nobody has raised their hands, so.
Okay. All right, so at this time, I'd like to see if we have a motion for a recommendation to move this project to, well, for the purchase of the land, which would be lot number 425, to the West Warwick Town Council for purchase. So I'm willing to act on that first.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion for the sale of lot 425, a recommendation to sell.
All right, so the motion has been made. Could I get a second, please?
I'll second it.
All
Bob
right.
Boyer.
Mr. Boyer has seconded. So Mr. Carullo, would you take a roll
I
call?
will call the roll. Mr. Boyer,
Yes.
Mr. Lancelota,
I think he's gone.
okay, Mr. Patnode,
Yes.
Mr. Tabak, could you email me yay or nay on the motion to send a positive recommendation to the town council for the sale of the lot? And I'll wait for that to come in, Mr. Marsh.
It would be, yes.
Yes, so we have 4 in favor. Mr. Lancelota has not responded. I'll assume that he's lost his audio. He can also email me, but we'll go with a 4-0 and 1 abstention for now.
Mark, I can let him talk. Jack Lancelota, is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
I can let him talk. He kind of signed in. He wants to talk, so let me allow him to talk. Stand by.
Okay,
Mr. Lancelota, you're on. You're a panelist now. You can speak.
Jack?
He actually raised his hand. That's why I noticed him. So he's on the same level as you people are as a panelist. So I just don't see him speaking.
Did he speak earlier? I think he did speak
He
earlier.
did, twice earlier.
Yeah. All right, well, what do we do here? I don't want to,
Lancelota, can you unmute your microphone? You are muted at this time. You have the only ability to unmute. I cannot unmute you.
I can say while we're waiting on Jack that Mr. Tabak has responded to the affirmative, so he is voting in favor.
so are we waiting?
Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Mr. Lancelota, you can speak now.
Jack, you can email me if you have your computer up.
He's not muted, but he's here too, so.
John, does he have the ability to type into like a comment box?
And the chat is open. I can see the chat as well.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to,
We're having the same issue with our attorney, John Sakachi. He just emailed me that he can hear us, but he can't speak, but he's been listening the whole time and he just wants to let everybody know he's in the
Okay, so
meeting, but for some reason he can't communicate.
is he called in?
Yeah.
What's his phone number, Mr. D'Amico?
John Sakachi's number, let's see.
I have a couple of people who have phoned in that if they're using a phone, they either have to hit *6 or *9. One mutes and one unmutes. So
So Mr. Lancelota has emailed me to the affirmative. That's 5-0 on the.
All right, so we'll move that motion. And it's been approved. There is a note in the chat. It says from John. It says MIN. So I don't know if it's from John Sakachi or.
It probably is. He's listening. He can see, he can hear, but he just
Wait,
can't.
wait, hold on a second. Somebody wants to talk. Go ahead. Whoever wants to talk, go ahead. Just gonna unmute yourself. You raised your hand. Hit *6 or *9 to unmute yourself. It's 821-9872 is the phone number that's called in. I don't know who that is. They raised their hand to speak, but they're muted, and I can't unmute them.
This is Jack Lancelot. I voted in favor of the motion.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, so we all set with this, this item. We can move on to the next for the project itself, Mr. Carullo?
Yes.
Okay,
So before we, I have provided for you guys a recommendation with stipulations on this project. I believe the applicant has also received my recommendation with stipulations. And I think we would like to add an additional stipulation that the developer agrees to return to the agency for presentation of windows and facade approval.
Yes, that would be great if we could add that.
okay, so has everybody,
Mr. Chairman, Bill Pano, could we also add, typically we also add landscaping, or is that further down the road?
Well, that'd be the same time.
So I would make the recommendation that we add as a recommendation of the landscaping, because I think that's pretty consistent with what we've done in the past.
Yeah, so add that in. We're gonna look at the windows, facade, and the proposed landscape.
so have all board members read and agree with the planning office recommendation stipulations originally, number 1 to number 8? Is everybody else set with those?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So we
Mr.
would like a motion to approve with those
I just want to make sure everybody's read them.
recommendations
That was all. I want to make sure everybody read them.
as amended to include number 9, which is
9 as well, correct.
Mr. Chairman, this is Joseph Brennan. I would ask that you ask the applicant if they've had a chance to review the recommendations, if they're not going to be read into the record.
Okay, all right, then, yeah, I insinuated that, but thank you so much. So, Mr. D'Amico, have you read those stipulations that Mr. Carullo made,
Yes.
number 1 to 8? Are you in agreement with those? You okay with those?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. So, and we're gonna also add the number 9 onto that.
So that said, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve as recommended by the planning office as amended with number 9.
So the motion's been made. I gotta do public comment though, correct, still?
we
Mark?
did vote, I think.
On this one, or did that cover both?
Oh, you can do, okay. I just assumed the public comment was the overall.
Let's do the public comment on both, just to cover
Sounds
us.
good. Sounds good.
Is there
You have a mo-
anybody waving at us, John?
Nope, nobody waving at you.
Nobody waving. Okay, so motion's been made. Could I get a second, please?
Stan Tayback is seconding.
Okay, so we have a motion for the project for 5 residential condominium units. And that is with the 9 recommendation stipulations. Motion's been made and seconded. Could I get a roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Mr. Boyer. Mr. Boyer. Mr. Lancelot. Bob, was that a yes?
He has to unmute himself, Mark. He's muted. And I cannot. He has to unmute himself. He's on the phone.
How about Mr. Lancelot? Mr. Patnode?
It's been a long night.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Tayback? Is emailing yes. Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Okay, we need to hear back from Mr. Lancelot and Mr. Boyer, please. We have 3 in favor at this point. The motion passes, but I would like to get a response from Mr. Boyer and Mr. Lancelot.
Mr. Lancelot raised his hand, but he has to unmute himself to talk. And Mr. Boyer is still muted.
Jack Lancelota voted in favor of the motion.
Thank you, Jack. We're waiting on Mr. Boyer.
John, why don't you explain how to undo it again, please, maybe?
It's going to be star number 9 to unmute. Mr. Boyer raised his hand. Mr. Boyer, I see your hand raised. You just need to unmute yourself.
This will be broadcast on Saturday Night Live.
Who's going to play Mr. Carullo?
Yeah.
It is star 6 to unmute yourself. So if you need to unmute yourself, it is star 6.
Right.
There you go, Mr. Boyer. You're unmuted.
Okay, I vote yes, but I'd just like to add a comment, please. The rear of the building, I like the entrance, but the landscaping in front of that entrance, I think, is very important, as Mr. Patno said. Thank you.
Okay, that was included. So I guess we have a full count, Mr. Carullo?
Yes, that is a unanimous.
Okay, motion made and carried. Motion passes.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Oh my. I got audio.
We have a bad echo.
I know.
Thank you for joining us, Stan. Okay, so I think this concludes, we've successfully had 2 motions. This project's going to go to the town council for review and for the purchase of a vacant piece of land adjacent to the building. And we have approved the project with some stipulations. So at this point, we hope good luck with the council, and you can report back to Mr. Carullo, and we'll find out what the results are, how you make out with that. I think they're signed off. Perfect. All right.
Missed the one.
Okay. So the next project up would be for hearing tonight is this would be Washington Street Assessors Plat 5, Lot 14. For those of you that don't know, it's better known as the old Bank of America building.
There you go. Hey, maybe they are.
Thunder Mist Health Center is requesting an approval to construct a 2nd-story addition, including facade improvements to the existing building for the purpose of medical offices, which will pretty much include dental offices. And they have a less than required parking is located for that project as well. So that's going to have to be a discussion as well tonight. And they have submitted a traffic plan. So is there anybody here representing Thunder Mist tonight?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. My name's Amanda Barney. I'm the Associate Vice President of Communications and Development with Thunder Mist. We have a presentation for the agency members tonight and a few people that are planning to present. So I can certainly share my screen if that's okay. And then our President and CEO, Dean LaChance, will start the presentation.
Okay.
So Amanda, you sent me a PowerPoint. Is that what you're going to be starting with?
I don't know if you have the most recent version, Mark.
Okay. But
Sorry.
it would be that document that you're.
Yes, it's a PowerPoint, but
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure we were giving you the most accurate numbers possible.
Yes. Okay. I think the floor is yours, Amanda.
All right.
Hi, can you hear me?
Jean, we hear you.
Okay, good. All right. Hello, everyone. I am Jean LaChance. I am the CEO of Thundermist, and I was appointed back in 2017. And for the past 3 years, expanding access to dental care in West Warwick has been a top priority of ours. We worked hard to find the right building, and we need to provide our patients with expanded access, a state-of-the-art facility, and top-notch care. So, oops, your slides are advancing faster than mine. It was always our desire to remain in the Arctic village of West Warwick, and this is where West Warwick Health Center began, and we have strong ties to the community. We were active participants in the Arctic Village Association, and we look forward to contributing to the revitalization of this community. Thundermist Health Center, just a little bit of background on this dental piece, serves as a safety net for members of the community who need dental care. We are unable to meet the demand for care in our current space. Last year, West Warwick Dental Practice, we served patients from every single zip code in Rhode Island at this West Warwick office. There's been a 21% increase in unduplicated patients and a nearly 40% increase in appointments over the last 4 years. Yet even, this was pre-COVID, we have more than 500 people on the waiting list, and we anticipate this demand to continue to increase from the COVID-19 crisis. Dental practices, including ours, some have had to close, but we were able to keep open for urgent care only, but we had to definitely scale back. And some of the dental practices are going to be unable to sustain the economic impact of the crisis. So we're expecting to have to shoulder some of that in addition to what we were already walking in with. This is why adding a second story to the building is of utmost importance to us. We're unable to meet the need in the community without this additional space. And Thundermist, we are eager to make this significant investment in Arctic Village and the West Warwick community. We've worked hard over the past few months to bring you a design options and a comprehensive parking plan to consider tonight. Our partners at Vision 3 have designed 2 beautiful building facades that meet the needs of our organization and patients. And today we would like you to be able to choose which design best meets your vision for the redevelopment of Arctic Village. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Vision 3, Stephanie Paolino, I believe. Stephanie, you'll be presenting.
I'm just unmuting myself. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Paolino, and also with me today is David Christie. We're both architects at Vision 3. I've been working with Thundermist for over 10 years now and was the head architect for their main medical building on Providence Street, which was the renovation of the Cotton Shed building for which was part of Royal Mills Complex. So Thundermist is familiar with renovating a historic building. We've done that successfully in the past here in West Warwick. I also grew up here in Arctic, and I still live locally today. So I'm really excited to see this 5 Washington Street project move forward. And also just a shout out to the last project. I'm also really excited to see the development of the JJ Newberries as well. I do remember going in that store and getting ice cream at that counter as a kid. So when we first started looking at this building, we had initially planned on just doing an interior renovation and using the main first floor of the building, but we quickly found that trying to fit the quantity of dental exam rooms that Thundermist needed on one level was just not achievable. We also looked at renovating the basement, but the existing ceiling height in the basement is very low, and we also would not be able to add any we wouldn't be able to add any windows into the basement space. So we pretty quickly came to the conclusion that in order to fit the quantity of exam rooms that Thundermist needed, we would need to look at a second story option. So as Jean mentioned, we have two options for the agency to look at tonight, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dave Christie to show the group those.
Yeah, so as I'm sure you are all familiar with 5 Washington, which is a 1-story building with a limestone facade that faces Washington Street and then turns the corner and extends a little ways down Sinnott Street, which is a pedestrian walkway leading to Archambault Ave, and the parking, which is at the back of the building. And pretty early on in the design, we knew that the existing limestone facade was really a kind of characteristic element of the building, and something we really wanted to preserve. And to that extent, we've come up with two different design options that take kind of two different ways of kind of preserving and working with the character of that existing limestone facade and the elements there. This is the first option, and it's one where the approach is more kind of comes from a position of trying to blend the second floor addition and take some of the elements and style of the first floor and extend it to the second floor addition. So you will see that we've tried to pick up on the rhythm of the existing columns within and windows on the first floor within the second floor addition with pilasters and new window openings, as well as a cornice that starts to respond to the extents of the limestone on the first floor. And then on the corner of the building, kind of as it turns down the pedestrian walkway, which was previously the bank, the existing limestone has a little bit more detailing. There's kind of the portico at the entrance, and it takes on a little bit more of a stately character on the corner. And so on the second floor addition, we tried to respond to that with a little bit larger window openings and kind of a more kind of panel type design. And then on the right side on Washington Street, and then you can see it kind of continues towards the back of the building, going to more of a lap siding and a residential scale window that seemed more kind of in line with the second floor of some of the other buildings on Main Street where it's a little more residential. You can go to the next slide. So on the Washington Street elevation, we're proposing the second floor to be a pre-finished fiber cement product due to weight and structural concerns of having a second floor. We didn't want to continue masonry up, even though we've tried to bring some of the design elements through the second floor. And on the right side, it would be a fiber cement lap siding, like a James Hardy type product. And then on the left side of this elevation, kind of above the windows, and to make the pilasters a combination of fiber cement panels and trim to achieve that kind of raised panel type of design. You can go to the next elevation. And then as you turn the corner to the south elevation and continue down the pedestrian walkway, you'll see the second floor addition kind of continues with the similar material palette that's on the front. On the first floor, you'll see there are 3 existing masonry openings that are currently infilled with like a painted wood siding right now, and we are proposing to reintroduce new glazing at those locations. It was important to Thundermist that our design would help kind of make this pedestrian walkway feel more inviting and safe and less like an alleyway. And so because of the location of stairs and exam rooms on the first floor, some of that glazing, most of that glazing will end up being like a spandrel panel or an obscured glass, but they felt that it was important to help kind of make the that pedestrian walkway more inviting and more friendly, both for their patients who will be parking kind of at the back of the facility, as well as to create a better just public space outside their building. And likewise, we're proposing adding lighting in that area as well, exterior lighting. You can go to the next page. And then at the rear of the building, we're proposing the adding new windows in the existing window openings. And then the second floor kind of continues with a similar material palette and a similar approach to windows that are of a little bit more of a residential scale and configuration. And then at the back of the building, there's an existing kind of bump out and stair that connects the first floor to the basement, which is not large enough to fit a stair that is currently compliant with code for egress. So we are proposing to remove that bump out and add a new stair tower that would connect from the basement to the first floor to the second floor and be sized appropriately to allow egress from each of those floors. All right, you can go to the next slide. And so then in the second design option, you'll see a lot of similar pieces, but we wanted to take a different approach on how we address the existing limestone facade. And so while the first design was one more of trying to kind of extend some of the styles and elements of the first floor into the second floor addition. In this approach, we wanted to take more of an approach of trying to have an aesthetic that was a little bit more clear and representative of the elements that are historic and trying to be preserved, and the elements that are new, and come up with a design that complements what's existing without trying to replicate it. And so to that extent, we are proposing, this is a second floor addition with a fiber cement panel. We've found a panel with it has like a natural through body finish, and so it has a little bit more of a mottled or textured type of appearance, kind of similar to stone for the panels of the second floor, and tried to come up with an arrangement of window openings and joint locations that work with the second floor, but it becomes a little bit more of a subdued expression, and allows that limestone facade to kind of stand out and exist kind of clearly as the historic element, whereas our new addition is more contemporary and a little bit more expressive of it being an addition, while still complementing the existing first floor. You'll see that we have a cornice on the corner to try and help respond to the extent of the limestone facade and kind of start to turn the corner back down the pedestrian walkway. You can go to the next slide. So in this iteration, you can see the panel locations and joints start to pick up on some of the rhythms of the first floor, although it becomes a little bit more of a subdued move and not so much of an extrusion of the elements of the first floor. You can go to the next slide. Similar to the first option, we are proposing to reintroduce glazing to the 3 existing windows and add 1 additional window on the south elevation to help make the pedestrian walkway a little bit more inviting and friendly, and the scale of the windows as we move to the side and back of the building start to take on a little bit of a smaller scale, but still kind of respond to a little bit more of a contemporary style in line with the aesthetic of the second floor addition. And then you can go to the next option. And then very similar to the first option, at the back of the building, we're proposing to remove the existing bump out for the stair and add a new bump out for a new stair. The location of it isn't exactly the same, but it's very similar location to the existing stair bump out. And then the materials on the second floor addition are kind of carried around from the front and from the side of the building. And then you can go to the next slide. And then for the materials for the addition, what we're proposing in design option 1 is a pre-finished fiber cement product, similar to a James Hardy or equal. For the second floor, and then on the first floor there's a section of the facade on Washington Street, which was previously a storefront for a toy store, that we're proposing to be replaced with a new wall with window openings in it, and that we would be proposing to use a cast stone masonry veneer in a color that's similar to the limestone. And if you look at the elevations, we've tried to kind of carefully work in a way where we don't bring the new materials and the existing limestone together in a way where we think we can try and match the materials as best we can with new materials. And then for the design option 2, the first floor is the same kind of cast stone masonry veneer that we proposed, but then the fiber cement panels, we're proposing a panel that has a natural or through body finish, and it has a little bit more kind of modeling and depth than a painted finish, and is a little bit more reminiscent of a stone type material or a natural material. And you can go to the next slide. And then with each option, we're proposing kind of a different set of light fixtures. And so on the first option, which has a little bit more of a historic feel, we're proposing this light fixture on the left for the front facade, where it's a little bit more decorative and has this kind of historic type feel. And this would occur on Washington Street, kind of on the limestone facade, whereas then as you turn the corner and continue down the pedestrian walkway, once you get to the brick facade, we're proposing this, it's called a warehouse shade fixture, but it becomes a little bit less formal than what's on the front of the building, but still kind of keeps in character with the more historic style. And then there's a third fixture at the back on the parking lot that's being proposed, that it is more the lighting output it allows it to be used to illuminate a larger kind of area, parking like area, and so that's why we proposed that fixture at the rear of the building. And then you can go to the next slide. And then with design option 2, we've taken a similar approach, but tried to select fixtures that are more in line with the more contemporary aesthetic of design option 2. And so the fixture on the left is proposed at the front of the building, where where it's a little bit more decorative and formal, and it occurs within the limestone facade, whereas the fixture in the middle would occur on the pedestrian walkway when you get to the brick portion of the building, and it becomes a little less formal. All right, and then next slide. And I think I'll turn it over to John with PAR to discuss the traffic study.
Thank you, David.
Excuse me, before we move on to that, Mr. Chair, I have to step away for a minute to check on one thing here. So my video will go off and I'll be right back, but please obviously continue.
Thank you, David. You want to continue, Mark, or?
Is David still on? Is he done?
Yeah, David's all set.
Okay, David's all set. Okay. Mark, no, John, you're going to take over now?
I am. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. For the record, my name is John Shevlin, registered professional engineer in the state of Rhode Island. Been a traffic engineer for over 30 years, work for PAR Corporation. So PAR has been asked to go ahead and perform a traffic impact analysis study of the surrounding area with the roadways and the intersections. So you can see this is a study area on the plan that we're showing on here. As part of our study, we want to take a look in regards to traffic capacity and safety issues to the surrounding roadway network. We looked at 3 conditions. We looked at the existing traffic conditions. And when I say existing, we did the traffic counts in July, but everything was inflated based on, the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on. We did get historic count information from Rhode Island DOT, so we're able to adjust our traffic volumes in order to look at what the capacity issues are and what the impacts would be at with the proposed development. Also, we want to take a look in regards to safety, so we also obtained crash history from the West Warwick Police Department, and we want to ensure that site access in and out of the site would be something that would be safe as far as getting in and out of the site on Archambault Street. And then lastly, just wrap up in regards to the parking conditions. We'll talk briefly about that. I know Justin's going to go ahead and provide you more information in regards to that. So we did the study. We completed this. The capacity issues that we looked at in the area, looking at the existing conditions and then looking at the no build conditions, which is 5 years out. And that takes into account volumes that are either from growth. We put a conservative growth factor on there based on looking at the information we have for census data. And we also took with account in regards to coordinating with the planner as far as other developments in the town to add those into the build conditions. Basically, the results of the traffic capacity analysis show that with the additional traffic from the site, it should have no impact at all as far as any of the intersections or any of the turning movements within the study area. The main area that we looked at, as I said before, was the St. Mary's Main Street and Washington Street intersection, and that intersection should result with no significant impacts. As far as traffic safety, we found no history of areas that have significant patterns of crashes. You see at some of the intersections, there was some rear end accidents, which you can anticipate occurring at signalized intersection, but the number of accidents was not significant, showing that there's any indication. And again, we would not anticipate in regards to the additional traffic on the roadways that this number would increase. We looked at the site distance as far as getting in and out of the site, and that's based on the speed data, which was done by a study on Archambault Street. And we also took a look in regards to the sight lines, and we feel that there is good site access in and out of the site, and the site access is with the sight lines are very good in order to make sure that cars can get in and out without any issues. Lastly, the parking, we did an inventory in regards to where the parking is. We looked at our site as far as the parking numbers on there. There's a public parking lot across the street on Archambault that I know the day we went out there, and I'm not sure that's always the case, but it was, I think, 2 cars out of 36 were being used. Also, there is parking on street. And based on the volumes that are anticipated from the development here, as far as the employees and patients that are coming in and how the operation of the facility works, we feel that there's adequate parking in the area in regards to go ahead and make sure that we could go ahead and accommodate this development. And the next slide, please, is just a plan that we showed in regards to the parking layout and what could be done to improve the overall site. So we went ahead and we added a parking layout on here. We want to spruce the site up with some landscape areas that would be added into the site to accommodate and to go along with some of the landscaping that's there now. So that's a quick summary in regards to where we did with the traffic and parking, and I'll let Justin provide more information in regards to the parking.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Justin Raposa. I'm the Director of Facilities here at Thundermist. Parking is something that I work on almost daily here at Thundermist throughout all of our sites in Rhode Island. We do work hard to make sure our patients and employees have easy access to our buildings while the impact to our neighbors and municipalities is limited. We've taken many steps to address our parking needs, including the recent purchase of 100 Hayes Street to provide parking for our medical and behavioral site over at 186 Providence Street. We always try to address the concerns that arise and are proud to be collaborative partners in addressing the needs of the community that we serve. Go to the next slide. So part of our parking plan, we developed a comprehensive plan to address the parking at our new building following the study from John at PAR. An important piece of this is a plan to collaborate with the Arctic Playhouse. Organizations plan to allow each other to share the lots behind our buildings, as our need for parking is opposite during business hours. In fact, actually, Thundermist has agreed to redesign the two lots into a single lot if we find we can effectively use it and gain some additional parking between the two pieces of property. In addition, we recently conducted a survey that showed that 1 out of every 5 patients to our West Warwick dental office use alternative transportation like Uber, the bus, or a bicycle. Next slide, please. Parking need. This graph just shows kind of the low and high needs that we foresee in the current fit out. As John said, we have a parking ordinance that requires 69 spots for our new building. However, we applied our staffing and patient scheduling models to determine what we think the true need will be, and that we believe will be significantly less. These numbers do reflect that 20% of our patients use alternative transportation, and that on average, 17 of our patients are no-shows. Many of our Thundermist patients do not come to their scheduled appointments. At our West Warwick dental office, that actually comes out to nearly 1 in 5 patients. This number in this graph here also includes patients who will be waiting for their appointments as well. Therefore, during our busiest times of the day, we anticipate we'll have the need for at most 44 parking spots. And then there are some hours of the day that we may need only 18 spots. Next slide, please. Currently, between the sites that I spoke about, there are 79 spots available for Thundermist employees and patient parking. This includes on-site spots, the Arctic Playhouse lot, and public parking that is currently being utilized by our patients and staff right on Archambault Street. Our anticipated maximum parking need is 44 spots, and as you can see, the lots behind our building and Arctic Playhouse have 43 available spots. We believe the need for public and on-street parking will be very minimal to meet our parking needs with what we came up with our study. Next slide, Amanda. I think it's that pretty much concludes our presentation. Want to know if there were any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. Are all members back? Oh, you're back, Bill. All right, so do we have any questions?
Jim, I have a question. It's Mark Carullo.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
Justin, you mentioned that you have a parking with the theater next door.
Yes.
So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Jim Belanger and I talked, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, had a good conversation about his need and our needs. I'm not sure if Jim's on the line, but he said that he does use a parking lot, and they actually removed a piece of the guardrail in order to let their patrons use the back of the bank parking lot. In a quick conversation, we kind of brainstormed and said, hey, you need parking, we need parking. And he proposed the idea of potentially joining the two lots. We'll have to do some homework to see what that ultimately looks like. whether we gain enough spaces to make it useful. But it is an option that we're willing to take on that cost to explore.
Would you be entering into, at this point, some formal agreement? Sounds like that's informal. Are you looking at some formal, maybe cross easement or agreement for shared parking?
Yeah, we probably would, because we do actually, in both of our sites in Wakefield and our site in Woonsocket, we do have formal agreements with neighboring businesses where we do have an agreement that we pay per spot per month for use for mostly our staff.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like it's an ideal arrangement between you and the theater in that your peak hours are not even close. I mean, they'd be in the evening and on weekends, and you'd be weekdays.
Yes.
So that, you know, there's a benefit to both. I'm not sure that there'd be need to be any cost sharing arrangement other than an agreement between the two of you that each of your patrons could park on the other lot at particular times.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than, like I said, our other locations where we need parking during the day there and no one needs it at night, where in 5 Washington Street, it could, like you're saying, it could be used at different times of the day by different neighbors, essentially.
Any other, is these all set, Mark, or do you have more questions? You're all set? I'm sorry, you broke up. You're all set? Okay.
I'm all set.
Anybody else? Mr. Patno?
Thank you. Should that type of agreement be considered as part of a approval, or would that be something that we would do?
I think we could make that another, just as we did the last item, we can make that another additional recommendation stipulation. Sorry, Bob.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I was just going to inquire with the additional, patient in the new building, that traffic patterns that they were talking about. Is there any dialogue with the state about the traffic signaling there? Would there be any changes at all? Right in that Onyx Square, they call that location.
Yeah.
Devlin?
Yeah, I mean, based on the analysis right now, the level of service really doesn't change and the delays don't really change. But one thing that'll need to be done for this site, because it is on a state highway and it's a change of use, we'd have to go ahead and get a physical alteration permit application, submit that to DOT. So they would look at traffic and drainage and access and everything else. So that would need to be approved by DOT. But based on our analysis, to answer the question directly, that intersection really is not going to have any significant impact as far as the way it's operating.
Can I ask you another question also? When the group from Thindamis came to the Arctic Village Association several months ago about some of their proposals, there was talk about the parking lot adjacent to the proposed facility there, right near the New York system. Is that still for sale, do you know? Or is that something you looked into, or it's not available?
Actually, Jim Belanger, this is Justin Raposa. Jim Belanger asked me the same thing. I believe he said he saw that it sold recently. So he was asking if Thundermist purchased it, and we did not purchase the lot.
That's what I was to understand, that piece of property was sold. But I haven't seen any movement on it or anything yet. And I don't think it was really anything you were interested in, because of space-wise, it was only about 9 cars, right. Correct? Okay.
I believe that lot was under negotiations between the adjoining restaurant and the property owner.
I think you're right, yep.
Is it right to ask a question about the facade and signage?
Sure, go ahead.
I was just curious. I noticed in some of the schematics there about the signs. Would it be any physical sign that's allowed there, or it's going to be something like embedded in the glass? I was just curious about that.
Yeah, so with the 2 design options, we are proposing two approaches to signage, and at this point it's a schematic. approach and would definitely work with a signage vendor to come up with a more detailed signage plan. But the two different approaches that we proposed between the two options, one was in option 2 had window signage, and so that would be like an applied vinyl graphic within the windows. And then in option 1, we were proposing a banner type sign. If you're familiar with the Thunder Mist building on Providence Street, they have these vertical banner signs, and in design option 1, it was proposed a similar type of sign. I think the scale is slightly smaller based on just the relative to the scale of the building here, and they kind of occurred within the pilasters on the second floor.
Okay, thank you.
Could I ask, would you consider, I don't know if it would fit, but you have that space between, say, the top of the vestibule and that kind of crown that hangs over. Could you do something in lettering there similar to like what I would say Central Bank has? Maybe they have Central Bank obviously up there, but would you consider doing, I'm just wondering how that would look if we could get a rendering with that, maybe, and then maybe the building number over that vestibule in the triangle area or in that square over the door. I'm not so sure I like the window. Window's okay, but I'm just wondering, I think you got such a beautiful design here. I think there's just something you could play off of that, maybe a little more.
Yeah, I'll say that was the first option that we tried, and we kind of shot it down internally. That the space kind of above the portico is very long and horizontal and not very tall.
Right.
And when we tried to kind of fit signage in there, it just, there wasn't enough vertical height to.
Yeah, I know. You need a longer
to make it work well.
Right. Right. How, do you know what dimensionally that is, that space? Do you have an idea of what that is roughly? Or are you not at that point yet?
I could get it. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Mr. Chair, this is Mr. Pano. Maybe procedurally. So it seems like there are two issues, the design and the traffic. I don't know if those are two. So could we have a conversation on one and then either come to some consensus and then move on to the second one?
Yeah,
I will have to say that I do have a 5:45 family commitment. So you've got 15 minutes of my time. I do apologize to the applicants for that.
Okay, so yeah, let's stick with the building, I think, right, Mark? And we're gonna have to decide, we should decide also on, I see, you know, let's decide on the traffic first, I'd say. Correct?
You're talking about the parking?
Yeah, I said it's just parking, correct. Traffic study and the parking.
So one of the things that Thunder Mist is requesting is relief from parking, and they've made some explanation, presentation as to how they intend, how much they need, and how they intend to address any deficiency. So as part of the approval, the agency would have to consider and approve granting relief to the parking.
Should we just combine these both together, or should we have them
So
separate?
if we combine the approval of the facade with the parking, and if there are stipulations to be attached, and I think, I don't know, was it Bill, or I think it was Bill that maybe mentioned the stipulation about parking. We can add that in. Again, I provided for the agency recommendation and stipulations. There are 3 stipulations. And if the agency desires to have Thunder Mist have some sort of a formal arrangement with the adjoining property, you would want to stipulate that.
Okay, so organizationally right now, let's just, does anybody else have any questions regarding the facade and the building itself? From
Jim, it's John Botello. Jim Belanger has his hand raised.
Yeah, can I just, hello? I'm sorry, is that echoing?
It's
Can you hear
excellent.
me? I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I wanted to say what a great design. The Arctic Playhouse, we're excited to have you guys as neighbors. It's been a great relationship so far with Arctic and West Warwick, and we're thankful that you guys have decided to stick around and dig in even deeper. So if I could just throw my hat towards one of those designs, because we're going to be attached to it, I love the first one. I have to say, keeping with the old school design of the town, although I kind of like contemporary personally, and I just happened to be able to be texting over to one of our other board members who's also online here, Lloyd Felix, and said he likes design 1 too. So, so thank you. And so you guys can make the decision because we're not part of this committee, but I did need to say my 2 cents.
Is that Jim?
Yes,
Jim?
it is.
Hi, Jim. It's Mark Carullo. How are you?
Hey, Mark Carullo.
So question, while we have you on the line and you decided to participate, so we're going to grab you.
Absolutely.
Would the Arctic Playhouse have any objection to formalizing some sort of a shared parking arrangement?
I would have to run this by our board as well. I have to be honest. I don't see any problems with this, but we were talking quite off the top of our head. And I really think, once again, and I have spoke with a few of the members informally, and everybody was like, yeah, that sounds good, really good idea. That sounds good in that. So, but I wouldn't want to be speaking for our whole board right now, Mark. But yes, if we got to that point, it would definitely need to be some sort of formal agreement because there'd be liability in case if, God forbid, someone got hurt or whatever. So we, and as far as the upkeep, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I think there's a lot of room for talk in there. Absolutely.
So if we were to attach some stipulation that said if feasible or plausible or something to that effect, at this point, the Arctic Playhouse would not be objecting to that.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. That was great information. Okay, so does anybody else on our board have any questions relative to the building, the design? And I think we're going to probably should take a head count, Mark, before we do a motion on what everybody kind of is thinking 1 versus 2, so we can wrap that into the motion.
Yeah, I would agree. So the motion should also include which facade, 1 or 2, would be preference of the agency. I believe Thunder Mist at the beginning of the presentation alluded to or stated that they did not have a preference and that they were looking to the agency more or less for guidance.
Okay. All right, Mr. Boyd, I think you just jumped in. Did you have any questions regarding the bill?
Okay. Yes. I'd like to make some comments. Your option 2, I really like because the design creates some shadow effects on the building, which always looks good. As far as the signage, I notice like on 128, all the signs they're placing now is at the top edge of the building. If you look at your option 2, to the right of the main entrance, up on the top of the building, there's a brick fascia there that I thought a sign could go there. But I love the option 2 because it creates the shadow effect on the building. And the other thing is, how many employees will be working in the building?
They showed that earlier. I think Mr. Raposa had that number. I think it was either between the low and high. I don't know if he's still on, he can just tell us. I think it was between 10 and 25. Am I correct in saying that?
That's correct.
Correct.
Maybe I was misinformed, but I thought you were having 16 or 21 dentists, something like that. Is that correct?
Mr. Boyer, this is Amanda Barney. So there will be a total of 35 employees employed in that building, but obviously with scheduling, the most that will be on site at one time would be 25.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I was concerned about. The parking certainly could be helped with the parking lot in the rear on the other side of the street, the rear of the building, or Fashionable Avenue. I guess it's a matter of if the committee will go along with the parking the way it is. I don't think we have any choice. Thank you.
Correct. Okay, so Bob, I assume you're in for design option number 2, correct?
I'm sorry, you came through a little gobble. I'm sorry. What?
For the record, you're in for design option number 2, correct?
Yeah, option 2, yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Tabak, can you hear us?
I don't know if Stan has the ability to speak or not, but
You want to email him, Mark, please?
he emailed me, he likes option 1.
Okay.
Yeah, the question about the lack of lighting on the side of the building. The first 2 panels have no lights that I can see. But he likes option 1.
Okay. Mr. Lancelota, can you chime in here real quick?
Yeah, they're both excellent proposals as far as the aesthetic appearance to them. So I guess the option 2 might be something different. I know the one is, I look at it, it seems more traditional. And then what I remember, I don't have the documents right in front of me. And 2 seems a little more modern. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Lancelota?
So which one was
No.
Mr. Lancelot?
He was in for 2, he said.
Oh, number 2? Okay.
Yes.
Modern number 2.
It's like America's Got Talent.
Correct, yeah. Mr. Patnode, before you have to go, what are you in for here?
I got a few more minutes. Just a quick question, though, on design option number 1. So on the second floor, you have over the windows, there's like these rectangular panels, you refer to them. So what is that? What would that red line that makes a rectangle, or that line that makes a rectangle, is that an indentation? Is that a coloration, or what is that?
Correct. That would be a mix of fiber cement panels and trim, and so the big flat portion would be a fiber cement panel, and then the call it the frame around it would be fiber cement trim to create like a raised panel type of a design.
It will look like the stone for the rest of the building, basically.
Yep.
Well,
All right. Well, I'm heavily in favor of option number 1. I'm not going to comment on the lighting because obviously I have poor taste in lighting fixtures, but I do think that all of option number 1 is a good fit for the town. And for my fellow board members, agency members, so what we do here kind of resonates to future projects. So if we want a modern Arctic, then I would say pick option number 2. But if you want to, I think in the past we've talked about trying to maintain the look, then we should might want to keep that in mind.
So I take it that on the tiebreaker, because we're tied at 2-2, correct?
Simon Cowell, what say you?
Okay, so I'm going to be in favor of design option. Call me a traditionalist, but I'm going to say design option number 1. So, all right. So I'd like to have a motion here tonight that we'll need a motion to approve or deny this project. Also with the planning office stipulations, including another one, number 4, regarding a parking agreement with the theater adjoining the property. And also that would include to go with design option number 1. So could we, and also before we do this, is there any public comment? John Botello, is there anybody out there raising their hand?
No, sir. Nope.
No, sir. So there's no public comment. So at that time, I'd like to call for a motion. Someone?
I will make a motion to approve the proposal with the stipulations from the planning office, with the additional one on a potential parking agreement. And it would approve design option number 1.
Okay, could I have a second, please?
I will second that, Jack Lancelota.
Okay, this motion made and seconded, and could we take a roll call, please, Mr. Carullo?
We will call the roll. Mr. Boyer?
I want to vote no with a explanation. The shadow effect on buildings is the thing to do today, so that's my opinion. But so I'll vote no. I like option 2.
Okay. Mr. Lancelota,
Yeah, Option 2 is nice, but they went with number 1, so I would favor that. Yes.
Mr. Patnode,
Yes.
Mr. Tabak. Hold on, he's emailing me. He's emailing me multiple times. Mr. Tabak is in favor, and Mr. Marsh, I assume you're in favor?
I'm in favor.
You're in favor, so that the motion passes 4 in favor, 1 opposed, not to the project, but just to the facade. Mr. Boyer prefers option number 2.
Great. Okay. So the motion is made and carries. I'd like to thank all the participants tonight for Thunder Mist. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your proposal. And we look forward to seeing your project come to fruition.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So before we break up, Amanda Barney.
Mark Carullo.
How quickly, I know that there's some expediency required here for something, either some financing or some approvals. How quickly do you need something from the agency in writing?
Even September 1st would be
Okay.
ideal, Mark. Could we just inquire, there was reference to 3 stipulations from the planning department?
Yes, you did not receive those?
No.
That all exterior lighting should be contained on site and directed away from and shielded from abutting properties. That all necessary local permits, including but not limited to Kent County Water Authority, West Warwick Sewer Authority, shall be issued prior to the issuance of a building permit. And that there shall be substantial compliance with all plans and testimony provided to the redevelopment agency. And any substantial change as determined by the town planner shall require additional approvals by the redevelopment agency. And then the last one was with regard to shared parking arrangement between Thunder Mist and the Arctic Playhouse, if feasible.
Terrific.
Or practicable or something like that.
Thank
Okay?
you. Thank you all. I just want to let you all know too that Thunder Mist has as many technical issues as you all do.
We do.
All right. Thank you all. And if the members just hold on for 1 second, we'll close the meeting, please. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, so Mark, do we have anything else we need to talk about? Are we gonna have any future meetings?
So I think I may have emailed, if not, we did receive an inquiry from some individuals who are interested in buying the Arctic Mill and
Okay.
coming forward with a development proposal for that. They had been working with the town for the better part of a year now on a tax stabilization agreement. So they're going to be looking to come to the agency in the next month or so to get a recommendation to the council on the tax stabilization agreement. Along with that, they will provide some very preliminary renderings and floor plans with regard to what they want to do to the building. They want to convert the building into market rate rental apartments with some commercial on the first floor. I think up to around, I'm not sure the number, but I think it's 100, not to exceed 130 residential units. So that is a big, big project. But they first need to proceed with their tax stabilization agreement for financing purposes and as part of their due diligence with regard to purchasing the building.
Okay. All right, I guess, so we could just have to wait for them to kind of submit for a formal application, correct?
Yeah, I think that'll be forthcoming within the next week.
All right, so at this time.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. Carullo. So in the minutes we approved, so October 22nd, 2018 was the last time we were together. It seems like yesterday. Oh my
Seems
God.
like yesterday, yeah.
So was there any movement? Is there anything on 37 Washington that we should know about? I mean, we left it with, there'd be a lot of, they'd get back to us.
Other than which one was 37? Is that the one that was approved then?
No, I'm sorry. What, the one,
Is it the Holmes building?
yeah, the Holmes building. I'm sorry, 69 Washington Street.
Yeah, that's under construction.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of,
Yeah, they had built that you probably don't recall, but they did send a bunch of catalog cuts to us.
All right.
Related to the agency members. You guys did respond. Basically.
oh, okay. It wasn't an immediate, oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
No, that was, okay.
But, you know, other than Facebook, Right, Jim?
Right.
They are moving right along. If you take a ride by there, the other day they were.
No,
breaking
no,
up.
no, I know that. I just didn't know if there's anything that we had to do. But
Well,
obviously not.
so there's some contention about that front unit, which was to be marketed as commercial or office. And if they decide to convert that to residential, they'd have to come back to the agency bill. So I don't know what the status of that is today.
Okay.
As far as we're concerned, it's a non-issue, right, Mark?
Okay.
Non-issue at this point, yeah.
Non-issue. As far as I'm concerned, the approval is the approval, and they gotta hold up to their bargain. So.
Can I just also just, Mark, when you talk to both applicants, can you let them know that these are the two of the most detailed, informative submissions I think we've had, and especially in terms of design. So Mike, kudos to them.
I will let them know. Thank you.
Do we have any, so I should say one more time, I guess, do we have any public comment from anybody in the audience?
No public comment, Jim.
No public, okay.
What, a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Hold on one second. John, I see you said I do want something. Does that mean you had a comment or you all
I
set?
was trying just to let you know, you guys were speaking about that construction that's going on Washington Street, those condominiums.
Right.
And Mark, I'm not sure if you saw the plans, but I have a copy of the plans on hand because I had to approve them. There is no commercial at all, just for the record. There is no commercial in that building at all. We were wondering the same thing because originally we had been told by the developer when he was coming to us and speaking to us about putting those in, that he was going to be putting commercial on the first floor. There is none according to the plans. And those are the plans that we approved going forward.
Now, what did the plan indicate that you approved then? Is it residential?
It's residential. There are all condos on that first floor.
So we'll have to address that with the building official.
Yeah, because I remember going to that council meeting that night. I was at the council meeting that night when they approved the plan for the stipulation.
Yeah.
So before they get a certificate of occupancy, the building inspector is going to have to obviously know what the approval entails.
Well, he has the building official has the letter, the decision letter from the agency. So if he read it, he should have the.
Well, we should double check and make sure. So
yeah,
just FYI, you guys.
I will make an inquiry. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you, John. Does anybody else have anything? We all set? All right, I'd like a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
All right. No, I need somebody to make a motion.
Oh, I
Motion to
motion.
adjourn.
I second.
Jack Lancelot made a motion. Mr. Patno seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5:53 PM. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome job.